Hi, my name is Serena, and welcome to Bellevue Imaging, where we take the beautiful and look at it through a more polished lens. I am a community developer that has spent about 10 years in the professional world, and I'm a person that's passionate about people having opportunities, people being educated and up to date, and people having the ability to gather the information they need to make the decisions that they have before them to build the lives that they want. I've spent over 5 years in higher education. I have a master's degree, and I have had the privilege of developing 3 different communities and really helping these things build from the ground up or throughout the messy middle to get to a brighter page. I am here to talk to you mostly about one region, but in the greater scheme of things, the state of Mississippi in the United States, of course, and the southeastern region of the United States. The southeast United States has many varying areas. There's different things that it's known for, whether it be known as the Bible Belt or red states, and of course that's referencing politics, but also more fun, there is what's known as the sweet tea line, which is the term the South, or the place of the South, is actually based on what restaurants serve sweet tea. Of course, we can always make sweet tea in our home. I am from the state of Mississippi. I had an interesting upbringing to where I have a little bit different take and stance on growing up in South Mississippi. But what I am the most excited to talk to you all about is a region known as the Pine Belt. So the state of Mississippi has 10 different geographic regions, and a lot of that, of course, has to do with the natural history as presented through different geological studies. And what we'll really focus on is what things look like today and not necessarily what processes have taken place in order to make things be the way that they are today. The geography of Mississippi, of course, you are in the most south portion of the United States because we have the Gulf of Mexico, or as some people refer to today, the Gulf of America. And it is defined by a major body of water throughout the United States known as the Mississippi River, of course. The Mississippi River in Mississippi, if you cross over from Mississippi going westward, you would end up in Arkansas or Louisiana. It just depends on what part of the state. Our most northern part of Mississippi is next to Tennessee, and then our most eastern border is next to the state of Alabama. So that gives us a lot of different cultural capital as far as being next to all these different regions. Mississippi is, of course, being close to New Orleans. We've got being close to Louisiana. We've got New Orleans, and then we've got the Mississippi Gulf Coast, which was historically known for its casinos. And then we're close to Mobile, Alabama. We have our own historic capital, Jackson, Mississippi. Of course, Tennessee with Nashville, Alabama with Huntsville. We're home to Mississippi State University. Ole Miss, which is the University of Southern Mississippi, Jackson State University. There's also Alcorn State University and other public universities, and also the University of Southern Mississippi. And of course there are other universities within here like Delta State University, but I mostly wanted to mention those 4 state universities, which is Jackson State, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, and Southern Miss. Kind of backing up from there, the Mississippi River, since there is a weather pattern known as the jet stream, it the jet stream picks up, of course, all of this moisture and moves all these land masses across the United States from the west to the east, and the moisture that comes up from the Gulf of Mexico and southern Mississippi, and different things. There's usually weather fronts that move through, creating a nice thunderstorm squall line, which is of course true for the United States because of that jet stream. And my point of sharing that with you is that there is a phenomenon, two different phenomena I'd like to share with you all. One is known as an alluvial floodplain, and the other is known as a delta. So the Mississippi River has a delta, which is actually the land mass created by the sediment that is deposited by a river. So in this case, we're talking about the Mississippi River. And over time, the land masses south of Tennessee and Arkansas, there's a land mass known as the Ozarks, and the Mississippi River over time has spit out all the sediment, which is now the land of Mississippi, Arkansas, Alabama, Louisiana. However, where you see Louisiana now, where New Orleans is, despite the changes in that geography now with the sea level rising, that area is actually a true delta. And you might be saying, wait, the delta is in northern Mississippi, and you'd be right. There is historically an area known as the Mississippi Delta. And in geographic terms, it is actually an alluvial floodplain, which means that when there is a flood of that area, it of course flattens the land and it takes with it different types of sediment, which historically has created really rich soil for planting and different types of crops. Today, the Mississippi Delta has changed a lot, and there are lots of needs in this area, and we'll be able to dive into the Mississippi Delta a little bit. And today's video is really a greater focus on the Pine Belt region. So we have the Mississippi Delta, which is technically an alluvial flood zone, and there are also areas in northern Mississippi near Tishomingo, and in the Tishomingo area is actually home to the tallest point in Mississippi, and it is a whopping 800 and some feet. There is a place called Mount Woodall in the Tishomingo area, and it is neighboring, of course, to Tennessee and Alabama, and there's a little bit more terrain there that is a little bit similar to the more mountainous ranges that you see in northern Alabama and Tennessee. Not mountains though, but there is one point called Mount Woodall. Next in the area, there are also more luscious planting areas. So near Starkville, near Mississippi State University, there is an area where there's very rich soil, and it is also known for its crops. And then you've got a more central Mississippi, and if you go all the way south, there is the coastal plains, which is not only geographically different from the Pine Belt, but also culturally different, which we'll be able to dive into in future videos as well. And so if you move a little bit further north, we'll say about 80 miles an hour to an hour and a half from the Mississippi Gulf Coast, you would land in an area known as the Piney Hills, and also known as the Pine Belt because of its geographic shape on a map. And in this area, a lot of people that are from here, since we've been exposed, or many of us have had the opportunity to be exposed to mountains in the Gatlinburg, Tennessee area, this area seems rather flat and possibly rather dull. But I am here to tell you, thanks to the knowledge imparted on me, that we in the Pine Belt actually have slowly rolling hills. And geographers and geologists have discovered that Mississippi was once completely covered by water. And that is something that has been corroborated with evidence of finding all types of corals and fossils. Wayne County is a county that is in, I guess you could say, a part of the Pine Belt. And there is actually, I don't know how many feet long, I'll probably have to find some more details for you all, but in a hundreds of feet long whale fossil, which was a type, the fossils I think they are connected with prehistoric times, and that is something that's housed by the University of Southern Mississippi in their biology, let's see, what's the word, their biology keepsakes, or things that they have students be able to learn through, and that's very interesting. However, like I mentioned, the Mississippi River, as more and more sediment got pushed out over the years, that created the land mass of Mississippi. So let's now move on and focusing on the beauty of the Pine Belt. There are several counties that make up the Pine Belt, and we'll get into all of the political geography of this area soon. But the biggest point that I want you to know is how beautiful this area is. As I mentioned, slowly rolling hills. So if you were to ever go on, those country songs that talk about makes me want to take a back road, or oh, country roads take me home, this is a place that definitely has some back roads and some country roads. However, they are well maintained by the counties, and there are also, of course, there's an interstate that runs through the Pine Belt, and several state highways and U.S. highways. But these country roads are so beautiful, and like I said, if you ever get the opportunity to, you would be able to see these hills and these valleys, once again, relative to a true mountain range or a true valley, but it's some of the most beautiful sights you'll see. You'll be able to go up on a hill and you'll just see undeveloped land for miles that are these different layers of pine trees, and you might see some different type of fauna, so different deer and hawks in the sky, and of course the clouds. So it's a really, really beautiful sight. And going back again to the Mississippi River and the different rivers, like the Pearl River and the Pascagoula River Basin, different rivers tied to that water source. There's a lot of rivers here. So you've got these slowly rolling hills, and then you've got these large bodies of lake water. Actually, in the Pine Belt, there is a 1,000-acre lake known as Big Bay, which is the largest privately owned lake in the entire state, and it's being developed as a premier residential community. And these premier residential communities that I'm speaking with you about, they stand out among the whole nation's premier residential communities, and I'll have a great video for you on what all of those look like as well. However, these large bodies of water, of course, there's tons of ponds. If someone owns cattle or raises horses or other types of livestock, you'll see these large ponds. And then, as I mentioned, there's also true lakes in this area. Another large lake in the Pine Belt region is housed in a state park. So it's Paul B. Johnson State Park. And this lake, of course, is open to the public and maintained by the Mississippi Parks and Recreation. With all of these bodies of water, it's a beautiful place to be. It creates vibrant landscapes and also vibrant areas of wildlife. With those vibrant areas of wildlife, it's a place where we try to preserve nature and protect nature. And Of course, at the same time, I'll talk a little bit about the economy and what drives the quality of life here. What's the most exciting about living here, in my opinion, is the weather. So as I mentioned, it's very green here, lush grass, beautiful tall pine trees. There's also, as you may be aware, pine trees are evergreen. And then we also have several deciduous plants here. There's many groves of pecan trees. There are, of course, oak trees. Live oaks are very common here, and walnut trees, maple trees, magnolia trees, and along with the deciduous trees, which are the trees that shed their leaves during the winter, there's so many evergreens here that even during the winter, it's pretty green here. The grass, as I mentioned as well, is pretty much green all year round, with the exception of once it gets winter, the grass will be dormant for a little while, but there's enough evergreen trees around to still have things be vibrant. Oh, and mentioning if the grass goes dormant, many neighborhoods and many beautiful plants still grow really well here and flower throughout the fall or late winter. And some of those include rose bushes, different species of rose bushes, and pansies. And the reason for that is because this area of the Pine Belt has more sunny days than cloudy days. It has more sunny days than rainy days, but we get just enough rain and abundance of sunshine that things are able to grow really well here, and things are just beautiful. That beauty is really key for us humans, socially, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. Being a human, as you all know, is a complex experience, and we are all of this earth. And so being able to have those sunny days, the luscious vegetation, and the ability, even at the nighttime, you've got a sunny day, but at nighttime, when it's clear, you get to see these beautiful stars. You get to see the crescent moon. You get to see all the different harvest moons and blood moons and eclipses that come. So it's a really, really great place to be when you're thinking about the natural side of things. So let's now take a look at the economy of this region. The economy, I'm looking at my battery for the camera here. The economy of the United States is vast, and it is also very focused on tech and the creative economy. However, the majority of the United States is encompassed in counties. Correct me if I'm wrong, and what I mean by that is the amount of land, space, and square footage. It's in more rural areas within the counties. So what I mean by being in the county is that it is maintained by a county, and then that kind of gives us the opportunity to see that Mississippi, of course, being historically known as one of the poorest states, it of course is a more rural state as well. However, there are large cities in Mississippi, once again, relatively, and these different cities really boost the economies and serve the surrounding communities in a very meaningful way. And we'll talk about what that looks like for the Pine Belt. But I do want to give you a little bit of insight. So the capital of Mississippi is Jackson, Mississippi, and it actually has hundreds of thousands of people in its metro area. And that gives it a huge economy. There are, of course, it being the state capital, there's a lot of functions that take place around that, and we can dive into the economy of Jackson in at a different time. Gulfport is also one of the largest cities in the state of Mississippi, and Gulfport is one of the cities that are along the strip of the Mississippi coastline. Historically, of course, we can definitely dive into Hurricane Katrina as far as what it meant for the Mississippi Gulf Coast, but Gulfport is a very huge growing area where companies from even worldwide are coming to locate there and study the Mississippi Sound, which is the area that is before the barrier islands. So Mississippi, as beautiful as it is on the Gulf Coast, the water is not known the same as the beaches of Florida, for example, because there are these barrier islands that prevent the, and Gulfport is one of those larger cities. Now, if you look norther, so Memphis, Tennessee neighbors the northern border of Mississippi, and there's a large city called South Haven, and of course, going further south to Jackson again, which is kind of more central Mississippi, but on the western side, there are large cities in that area as well. And now I want to direct the attention back to the northeastern region of Mississippi, and there's a thriving town called Tupelo, Mississippi, which has had a lot of great success in economic development, and we'll probably do a video talking about the top 5 largest cities in Mississippi by population. And I wonder what the largest cities by actual incorporated area would look like. That would be interesting to me. Drop below in the comments if there are certain cities in the area, whether they're on the top 5 list or not, that you would like to learn about, and I'd love to do that research and present it for you. So let's move on to the 4th largest city in the state of Mississippi. It is also within the Pine Belt region, and that is Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Now, Hattiesburg, Mississippi, like Jackson, it has a metropolitan statistical area that many people refer to as an MSA, and that MSA for Hattiesburg has a greater area population of over 150,000 individuals. They get that number by looking at Lamar County, Forest County, and Perry counties. Within all of that, Forest County is the actual county that houses Hattiesburg itself and the Hattiesburg city building and the city government. However, Hattiesburg does spill over quite a bit into Lamar County, into an area known as West Hattiesburg. It's known loosely as West Hattiesburg, but it's very interesting that it's got its own weather station. If you go to a source like Weather Underground, or if you look up on Google Maps, West Hattiesburg can be specified as a place to get directions to as well. However, Hattiesburg is one city in itself, and its incorporated population is around 50,000. So any interesting information you have for me about population of Hattiesburg as an MSA or Hattiesburg as a city itself, drop that below in the comments. I would love to learn more or see what other sources you guys have. Hattiesburg is a beautiful place. Just like the Pine Belt that I talked about in general, it has slowly rolling hills in its greater area, and it also is distinct in many ways historically. It was founded in the late 1800s, and its primary reason, or the primary driver of its incorporation, were 2 things. The first is railways. Hattiesburg is known for being the hub city. Its proximity to Gulfport, Mississippi, its proximity to New Orleans, Louisiana, as well as its proximity to Mobile, Alabama, and Jackson, Mississippi. And let's not forget about Laurel, Mississippi, which has had a very beautiful resurgence due to HGTV's series Hometown by the Napiers. I want to focus on that hub city and its proximity to those locations through the railways back in the late 1800s, as I mentioned. But what were they needing to carry? So of course, Gulfport being a port, things that were imported were moved northerly with the railways. But lumber, once again, we're the Pine Belt, lumber was a huge, huge driver of the economy for the Pine Belt and Hattiesburg itself throughout the late 1800s and early 20th century, so early 1900s. The economy has changed a lot, and where it stands today there are three main economic pillars. The first is healthcare. Healthcare is such a large driver in Hattiesburg, and it's really cool to see how Hattiesburg has become a hub city that started as a railway hub, but now a healthcare hub. There are two large healthcare entities, one known as Hattiesburg Clinic, which its main area is in the city limits of Hattiesburg. It's in Forest County, Mississippi. And throughout the Pine Belt, there are Hattiesburg clinics that serve rural communities. As you may be aware, Mississippi is well known for rural healthcare access disparities in rural areas. And Hattiesburg Clinic is doing a fantastic job of making sure that these rural hospitals are able to serve its communities in the best ways, while still making sure that individuals in rural areas are able to have access to greater means of health care in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, at its Hattiesburg Clinic locations. And it is closely tied with services of Forest Health. Forest Health was formerly known as Forest General Hospital, also Forest General, and this hospital is now named Forest Health. So those are two of the main healthcare entities that drive all the other aspects of the healthcare economy. And just as a fun note, there is a city in Marion County, which is also considered a part of the Pine Belt, and Columbia, Mississippi is the name of it. It actually was originally the capital for the state of Mississippi. So it has a lot of, it actually has the old governor's mansion, and it's also home to white squirrels. And these aren't albino squirrels because of their eye color, but their coats are actually white. That's just in their genes. It's not an albino squirrel, it's a white squirrel. And they are well known in Columbia, Mississippi. But my reason for bringing up Columbia is looking at the healthcare industry. We have a large healthcare, I guess you could say, it's a laundry facility for healthcare. So anything that's fabric that's not going to be disposed of, they launder the items and bring it back to the different healthcare entities in Hattiesburg and so forth. So beyond the actual doctors' clinics and the hospitals, there are other companies that employ dozens, if not hundreds of individuals to help make sure people in the area have jobs and can build those lives that they would love to lead. I'm going to take a minute and look at the time here. Okay, so we've probably did 30 minutes. After healthcare, the next largest economic pillar in Hattiesburg is education. Of course, there are different levels of education. You have primary education, so you could consider also early childhood education, and then you have post high school education, and we'll look at the colleges and the universities that are in this area. There are several what were known as or are known as community colleges, and one college that is now no longer branded as a community college. It used to be known as Jones County Junior College, JCJC, but it is now known as Jones College. And then we also have Pearl River Community College in the Pine Belt, which is south of Hattiesburg. Jones College is just south of Laurel, Mississippi, just about 20 minutes out of the actual city limits of Hattiesburg. And beyond that, we also have the University of Southern Mississippi, which is one of 4 public universities in the state of Mississippi, and it is actually a highest level of research activity, known as an R1 public university. It's doctoral granting as well, and it has earned those distinctions through the Carnegie Institute, which is a educational institute that looks at different engagement levels of universities and what that looks like, from the research that it helps promote and that it actually conducts itself, as well as how engaged it is in the community. The university is not the only university in Hattiesburg, though. There is also William Carey University, which has its own schools like the business school, and there's also a medical school that grants DOs, and that is something that we can dive into a little bit more, all that William Carey offers. So William Carey University, Jones College, Pearl River Community College, and the University of Southern Mississippi, those all tie together to really drive the economy forward and to really serve the community, to make sure that individuals that have great skill sets to earn different levels of degrees or levels of education or certification programs, they get to come into Hattiesburg and earn those things. And more importantly, people that already live in the Pine Belt have access to furthering their education here. And the businesses and different pillars of the economy, different businesses are able to really thrive and have the university say, okay, what is this area needing? What can we do better? And how can we support the different businesses that are either headquartered here or conduct their manufacturing here or serve the greater population? So that's something that's really neat to see. The third economic pillar in Hattiesburg, Mississippi is military. There is a large military base known as Camp Shelby, and it is housed within the Pine Belt, I would say more on the southern portions. It's about 30 minutes outside of Hattiesburg itself, and one can arrive there by going south on Highway 49. It's a little bit less than halfway if you're coming from Hattiesburg to the Mississippi Gulf Coast. And Camp Shelby conducts a lot of important military trainings and military services to, I guess you could say it hosts different units throughout the country. It also has its own unit station there, and this is a base that serves primarily the Army and the National Guard. So that's something that's interesting to see. And actually in this area, the Pine Belt will see different military aircraft doing their training, and that's something that can be a lot of fun, whether it's for kids or people just to know and see like, hey, there's some military aircraft, doing their thing. To train and do what they need to do. So that's a big driver in this economy as well. So Hattiesburg is a place where there are lots of jobs, there are lots of things thriving. Of course, healthcare is an economy or an economic driver that will continue. Education is also an economic driver that is changing but will continue, and military as well. The United States, I don't on this channel really want to say anything that might be negatively connotated, so let me know in the comments anytime I say something that I could potentially correct. However, the military industrial complex, as many of us might be aware, is going to live strong here in the United States. So Hattiesburg is a place that, by almost definition of the pillars that are here, will continue to grow. And what's interesting is what comes after that. If people have jobs, and if jobs are available to people, people need a place to eat, people need a place to live, and people need a place to gather. So those are the other economic drivers that I want to talk about, and that it's the service industry or hospitality and tourism. The next is the residential communities and revitalization efforts, and then lastly, organizations like the wonderful City of Hattiesburg government and the Hattiesburg Convention Commission, doing lots of great things to improve the quality of life in Hattiesburg. There are entities like Visit Hattiesburg that can tell individuals like yourself what exciting things are going on in the area. And what I think is one of the best things of this area, talking about quality of life and things to do, is the University of Southern Mississippi has a really great arts program. And when I say arts, I mean all types of arts, from visual arts to performing arts. And with all of those things, you can go and hear a concert on a Thursday night. You can go and watch a play with really well classically trained thespians. That's not a word you get to use very often. And orchestra experiences, or just community events, whether it's for children or different groups of people. The university is a really strong driver. Oh, don't forget sports. Division I athletics, Sun Belt Conference here in the Pine Belt. So it's a great thing for people to have access to. All of that really kind of sums it up. Let me know what questions you might have. With the two things that I actually just missed, that kind of wraps up, I guess, the quality of life, but we talked about some things to do, places to eat. This is the South, so there's really good food here. You'll find a variety of different cuisines to eat, and it's all done well. I have not eaten at a restaurant in this area in the Pine Belt that hasn't been good. The only that I've ever gone to that makes me think, I can leave or take it, are chain restaurants where, it's like, oh, well, this was good. However, the smaller restaurants and mom and pop restaurants, those are the places that you wake up to and you say, man, I really want to eat this for lunch, or, oh, I really need, this plate for breakfast. So it's good stuff in the Pine Belt area. And I would love to do an overview of restaurants for the area, fun places to go. Next and finally are the residential communities. There are so many fine neighborhoods, communities, subdivisions, large plots of land to build a house on, or large plots of land to put a mobile home on and raise, livestock, or however you want to start your life. Tiny homes are a big thing too. It's a really great place to live, the Pine Belt, from the lusciousness of its greenery to the vibrancy of the community life, to your ability to go to a more rural area or a more developed area like Hattiesburg, the Pine Belt is a really great place. More sunny days than rainy days. Of course, we get our own bouts of severe weather. And the thing is that Hattiesburg is developed well enough that we always know days in advance if there's going to be, windy, severe thunderstorms where we need to, maybe not leave a bunch of stuff outside that'll get blown across the yard, or to be careful of things like tornado warnings. And of course, there are hurricanes in the Gulf of Mexico, depending on greater weather patterns. And the individuals that live in the Pine Belt are well aware of these weather patterns and know how to prepare and everything. So the Pine Belt is not directly on the Gulf Coast, so it's not something that's ever been wiped out. Like I said, we need to do a video on Hurricane Katrina to shed light on those of you that are listening to these videos to kind of learn, okay, do I want to move here? And the answer is yes. There are so many people that live in the Pine Belt that came here, whether it's for a job in Hattiesburg or a job in Waynesboro or in Laurel or Columbia, that came here to build their career and say, okay, this is the next step in my career. This sounds great. This is a nice place to live. Let's see what happens. And they settle here, and it surprises themselves. But Hattiesburg being a hub city, that's a hub city of natural capital. That's a hub city of social capital, artistic capital, all these great things at your fingertips, and not to mention a low quality of life, a diverse community. We can do a video on the demographic breakdown of the area as far as age, race, ethnicity, affiliated political party, affiliated religions, and different things of that nature. That'd be a lot of fun for you all to kind of get a better idea. So this has been a great introductory video. I actually this is probably one of my few YouTube videos that I've started, and I've always wondered what's really going to stick. And I know that the Pine Belt area, the state of Mississippi, and the southeastern United States are places that I love very dearly, and I care about their development. And I think that the more knowledge we're able to put out in consumable formats like YouTube videos or shorts, the more people will be able to make informed decisions for themselves. And not to mention, the more an economy can not just develop, let's say with dollar stores on every corner and gas stations on every corner, but places that the community actually wants. Not just, oh, is there a gap in the market? Oh, is this here? But what do the people want in their behaviors? What are they needing? And what are they actually willing to put their money towards? Because yes, people go to dollar stores, and that's why they pop up here. However, I wonder what creative opportunities with having healthcare as a strong pillar, education and research as a strong pillar, and the military being the third, what really cool business ideas can come up, and how can the Pine Belt and its larger communities and smaller communities really encourage people to be a part of a sustainable economy. There's lots of exciting things happening in the Hattiesburg area, and there's lots of neat stuff happening in even small town Wayne County, in little areas known as Buckatuna or Chicora, where people are working to clean up the Pascagoula River Basin, which is one of the last unimpeded natural waterways. Lots of great stuff. So thank you so much for listening. What's most important here is not necessarily a like, but a comment. I really want to know, those of you that are listening and made it to the end, what do you want to learn about? Whether it's southeastern United States or Mississippi or the Pine Belt. Like I said, I want to do each of the different geographic regions. I didn't list all 10 of them explicitly. I just wanted to give you a general overview, and the Pine Belt being the area that I really want to promote its sustainable development is something that I want to talk a little bit more clearly, maybe go into county by county, community by community, or maybe just topic by topic. So let me know in the comments what you've got, anything that you want to add to what I said or clarify, let me know. It's been really exciting to talk to you. Remember, I am Serena with Bellevue Imaging. That's BELLE. Second word view, VIEW. Third word imaging, IMAGING. I'm a lover of maps and imagery and photography and videography. I'm an amateur, so I do all these things for fun. But my key is just to bring knowledge and value to other people through something that I enjoy doing and something that's fun for me. So thank you so much for listening, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.